Present here. First of all, thank you everyone for taking out time and becoming part of the webinar. This webinar is part of Partners in Prosperity's multilingual webinar series, where we are trying to mobilize and spread awareness about water management, importance of water conservation, and how to develop techniques where water can be managed well in agriculture. My name is Sharma, and I'm working as a coordinator in policy and impact with Partners in Prosperity. Now, I will just introduce you to a project called Vaporo, which we have been doing from last 5 years now. So, under this water productivity project or Vaporo, we're essentially trying to create agri-value chains where the rice is produced using water-efficient farming techniques, and the procured rice is exported to our market partners like Coop, Mars, and LT Foods. Anyone who would like to know more about it can speak to me personally. Going ahead into the discussion, I will just introduce two speakers. First, we have Ms. Louke Koopmans. Thank you so much, Louke, for being part of the webinar. She is heading the Global Sustainable Sourcing part at Mars Food currently. She has been working in areas of project management as well as would ask you to kindly mute your videos. We're having noise in the background. Yeah, she has been working in project management as well as developing sustainable sourcing strategies. Thank you, Louke, for joining us. Then Dr. Kamal Bata has still not joined us. We cannot access him as of now. Moving to the next speaker, we have Dr. Sudhir Yadav. Thank you so much, Sudhir, for being part of today's session. He's a senior scientist at IRRI, International Rice Research Institute. Currently, he is leading the theme of environmentally sustainable methods in rice-based systems. Then we have Mr. S.K. Sharma. He is the director at Central Water Commission, Ministry of Water Resources, River Development, under River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation, Government of India. And as he said, his views presented shall be his own and not necessarily representing the government or his department's opinions. Moving ahead with the discussion, I will just give the lead to Mr. Sharma now, and we'll discuss the first question, which is what is the importance of water in agriculture and how we can manage it? Dr. Sharma, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Answer to the question, what is the importance of water in agriculture? I would like to start from a little perspective. At the time of independence, our population was only 33 crores, 330 million. Now we are 1.3 billion. And the agriculture issue was such that at that time, we were not finding it possible to feed our own people. Now we have done a lot of improvement, a lot of management issues. They are still left, because you see what was correct at that time, Green Revolution. Now things have changed. Now we have become almost 2 times the population what we were then at that time. And there are some serious quality issues, quantity issues of water. Now to the question, what is the importance of water in agriculture? Now India is such a country that whatever we have, whatever resources, whatever inputs we have on our at our disposal, we must leverage them. We must leverage them for our benefit. And what do we have here is water. There are some countries which are quite water deficient. For example, in Israel, the per unit water availability is less than 100, and we are having currently it is 1,500 approximately. The only issue
Mr. Sharma, we can't hear you. I think there's some technical issue.
That is how all this problem. Then
Hello?
hello.
Yeah, yes, sir. We can hear you now.
Okay. So whatever, what is the coming back to the question? What is the importance of water in agriculture? Agriculture, water is very much important because it is one of the few resources which we have at our disposal, which we can leverage to feed our people, to keep our country stable and prosperous, and um, and and all the rest. So we cannot straight away discount water, and we cannot also leave aside the issues of environment, about quality and all. So what we will really need is to have a multifaceted approach. We cannot, in my opinion, my personal opinion, we cannot straight away neglect our supply side supply side results, or supply side our answers, and either we can neglect our demand side options. We have to manage, we have to do a tightrope balancing act. So I think this is how I would like to conclude, is that we will have to manage it by making a very fine, a very delicate balance between our demand side solution and supply side solution. We cannot straight away remain dependent upon one of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Thank you so much for sharing your views. You're absolutely correct that how there should be a balance, well maintained, between how much we're demanding and how much we're producing against what resources are involved. Because often what's the debate is that are we really selling our crops, or for that matter rice, or are we really selling water? So if we manage our water well, then of course that can be looked after. Thank you so much. I would request you to mute your video. Coming to the next questions, which is again one of the very important questions, is understanding the basics of what we're trying to do and what is sustainable agriculture really. And right now, today, we have with us Water and Environment Group from Uttarakhand, who has done extensive work in developing water management techniques. And we also have farmers in Haryana who are trying to replicate this model. But before heading into them and listening to their questions and views, I would request Louke to present her views on this second question: what is agriculture? What is sustainable agriculture, and why do we need it?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share more about what is sustainable agriculture and why do we need it, and maybe from the perspective of a global big company. I would like to share my screen. Then you need to give me permission, Sharma. Okay, thank you. If you can see my screen, please let me know.
We can't see your screen as of now.
You cannot?
Yeah, what did you share? Did you share?
If you can see it, please let me know.
We can't see your screen. Yes.
You can?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, excellent. Okay. So I work for Mars Foods. We're part of the big Mars Inc. company, and we are owners of the biggest global rice brands. And today I would like to share a little bit background, like why sustainable rice becomes more and more important in countries like Europe, the US, but why it's also important for companies like Mars. So first of all, as Mars is a family-owned company, and we find it very important that we can make an impact. So it's important we can drive change. We can also have an impact for people, for planet. Can everyone go on mute, please?
Yeah, I think good now. Okay,
Okay,
sorry. Yeah.
thank you. And driving impact is key. Also, we identified within Mars our top products And we can see that rice, which is using 40% of the world's irrigation available, as business, we should act upon water reduction. So that's something we do.
Yeah.
Also, why sustainable rice is important. It's also important that we can source basmati. It's growing. It's growing in Europe. It's growing in the States. People want to eat this fragrant rice. So it's important we can source from India. So it's important we can source quality and health and safety rice. That's always number one. But we also think in the future. So also we want to source our basmati rice. So we need a long-term supply. Well, if water aquifers are dropping, we need to act upon this. We need to think in the future. For that reason, we are now partnering in the WAPRO program. We really want to have a water stewardship approach to ensure we also have basmati rice in 10 years' time. Even though we're very small, of course, but for that reason, we're partnering with our suppliers, but we're also very active in platforms as well, like the Sustainable Rice platform.
Yeah.
Another aspect, like why is sustainability important? It's important for our own associates, our own employees in Mars. And of course, we also need to change it into growth in the business. So for instance, what now you see is very important. Consumers, they want to know where's their food coming from. It's called the trust chain. They want to know where it's grown, where it's coming from. And we do this, for instance, by putting stories on the back of the pack, and we show how much water is saved by farmers that grow great basmati rice. So having this in mind, this is more like, say, the why it's so important that we work on sustainability, thinking about the future.
Yeah.
Then as a business, we have set goals. So we said we can't do it on our own. So we member and take a leadership in the RISE platform. And I think that's also something we're now working on in India. We have plans maybe to set up a national chapter about Sustainable Rice platform. We also said we want to source rice from the Sustainable Rice platform standard. That's one way how you can measure that farmers are growing sustainable rice, which is key. But we also say this is not enough. So we also say farmers, they need income. Otherwise, they cannot join and profit from any program. So we need to improve yields, have better access to finance. Think also, let's say, how farmers can sell their products like straw. So we need to work on income. And today's topic is about water use. So in high water stress areas, we need to reduce the water use. And of course, this is all linked to each other. We cannot only work on water use forget so we already
Louke, I think there's some technical issue. We can't hear you properly.
we could do it alone. So by partners, we should be in. Okay. Should I? Did you hear my previous slides about the goals?
We couldn't hear it properly. Yeah.
Should I do it again?
Yeah, if you can, that'll be really nice. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as a company, we have set goals. And first of all, we acknowledge we cannot do it on our own. So for that reason, we have joined the Sustainable Rice platform, both the platform as well as adopting the rice standards. We also really supporting that in India, we set up a national chapter so that actors can be united in advocating for sustainable rice. In our goals, we don't only see it as SRP is the only one solution. We also work on income and water use. So that means we need to work on better work capital for rice growers, increasing yields, lowering input costs. As well, we need to work on water stewardship. And all the goals, of course, are interlinked together and something we should embed in a similar framework. Could you hear me now?
Yeah, we are with you.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah.
We can't do it on our own, so we're very active with a lot of different partners we're having who know this context very well. And we work closely with our suppliers. We are very advocating that we work through Miller associations to really drive sector change. Then maybe the final slides. What we always see that we need to think about the future long-term view. So we need to think, how can we change the system? So our dream, our vision is Haryana should be an attractive area that we can source high quality basmati with sufficient water in the future. But that only starts with if rice farmers, they are entrepreneurs, they think as entrepreneurs, so grow rice and wheat in a system. And as well, also farmers, they become stewards themselves of the environment.
Yeah.
But they need this well-functioning agri-service system. So good governance should be there. There should be a good private sector supporting them. So what we do now, we work with our partners on having a good rice value chain. We need to work on adoption of climate smart practices, and we need to improve the enabling environment, so the policy part.
Yeah.
I would stop here and then give it to the next speaker.
Yeah. Thank you, Louke. In fact, you raised very important points that says that farmers have to start working as water stewards, really. However, my question really is, as a farmer, as someone who is directly working on field, when someone has to make a choice, they need to totally understand the business model. So when you say the farmers have to become entrepreneurs, they also have to find the utility of choosing water efficient techniques over the conventional farming techniques. So if you have anything to add on that part.
Yeah, I so agree. The business case should be very clear. So we always see the income going hand in hand with water. So for instance, we work now on a pre-finance model together with Rabobank, so that farmers can do, for instance, laser leveling as a technique, which also will increase yields as well. It will reduce water as well. So that's just one example. As well, we look at, for instance, how we can use the byproducts of rice. For instance, they sell the straw. So we always need to think through longer term how to have this model as well.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Now I would like to open our floor to for questions to the farmers who are sitting directly in Haryana. In fact, it is important that you raise the point of Haryana because 86% of the exported rice is alone coming from Haryana of the whole of the country. So I would request my colleague in sitting in Haryana, Pavitri ji, to kindly open this video and maybe we can hear from what farmers have to say and see.
Everybody.
Pavitri ji, if you can put in some questions.
What is the importance of agriculture in water?
मैं आपको ध्यान से नहीं सुन पा रही हूँ आप क्या कहना चाह रहे हो व्हाट इज द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ Lauke, give me a minute. I'm trying to translate and understand what.
Hello.
Hanji, Pavitri ji, tell me. I think there's some confusion. Pavitri ji, maybe you want to use the chat section so that we can read the question from there at the side.
The question from the farmer is how can rainwater be conserved?
How can rainwater be conserved?
How can a farmer conserve rainwater?
Okay. Thank you, Pavitraji, for your question. So, Louke and Mr. Sharma, who spoke a while back, I would request any one of you who would like to take this question. I think Sharma ji is not with us anymore. So, Louke, if you would like to address this question, that how rainwater can be used.
Actually, I think Sudhir might be the best one to answer because he's more the water specialist of Erie. I can give my thoughts for collecting rainwater. I better leave it to the more water specialist.
Yeah. Dr. Sudhir, if you would. We can't hear you, Dr. Sudhir, if you can maybe try to unmute. Dr. Sudhir, we can't hear you. I think there's some.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we did see you.
No, no,
Yeah, speaking,
it's
but
all
we can't hear you. Yeah.
it's all technology. So thank you very much, and I'm very glad to see all farmers. And just to inform them, I'm also from Haryana, so that's very kind of good moment to see people from my state.
Yeah.
The question which has been asked, and for farmer, I'm sitting in Manila, working for a international organization for rice. So the question which has been asked, I think the question is not how to, use rainwater. I'm looking at the chat box. Question is how to help in raising the groundwater table, which is kind of related question that, so there is a two part. First, we need to understand why groundwater is going down. So that's first part, and the second part is how we can help. So there has been a lot of research done by universities, by ICR Center, on how you can capture rainwater and how that can be kind of linked to the aquifers. So basically there has been work done by different centers where at the corner of their field they kind of install a bore well, if you want to call it, and that act as a water harvesting, and the rainwater goes directly to the aquifer. So the first part is that by that whatever runoff is happening, that goes to your aquifer. But the more importantly thing is that the degree with which we can recharge the groundwater, that is still less than the rate which we are extracting the water. So I think we need to also control the extraction part, that how we will reduce our extraction so that the depletion rate can be reduced. So briefly, I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, Sudhir, for sharing your views with us. And what you say is it's very important that how some techniques which has to be introduced on ground needs to be done. And just moving to the next question, which we have from Uttarakhand, is what techniques can be adopted in Rabi crop management where we are dependent on groundwater sources? So if any of our speakers would like to answer this question, I mean, Dr. Sudhir, since you are the sixth person in rice, I would again like this question.
So the question is not for rice, that's for Rabi season. And it's very, very interesting that how we look from the system perspective, not only from rice or Rabi season. There has been a lot of work done in eastern India, especially in eastern Uttar Pradesh. Especially they are, I'm sure some of the farmers are familiar about dry seeded rice, and then not for rice, but then they go for early seeding of wheat to capture the residual soil moisture. with this small decision about what we call window of operation, you can reduce one irrigation. So there is a lot of work going on how in eastern Uttar Pradesh, basically we talk about, 2 to 3 irrigation, maximum 2 irrigation. So if you can, with system thinking, if you can capture the residual moisture from rice, starting early with rice, with dry seeded rice, and then capturing the residual moisture, going with, that's not in eastern UP, but in lot of work in Punjab, Haryana is going on using straw as a mulch. So with happy seeder, a lot of work is going on in Haryana, but that's not much in Uttar Pradesh. In Uttar Pradesh, I think there is a lot of scope to go for early planting of wheat and using the residual moisture of rice rather than wasting it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Sudhir, for telling us how the byproducts can also be used. We have a couple of questions coming over, and we would like our speakers to answer them. Unfortunately, we didn't have Dr. Vatta with us. Nevertheless, we would go forward and moving towards the third question. We would have these questions answered in the next session. We would close the question and answer session for now, and then move ahead to the third question of today's presentation, which is, how can technology be used in improvising agricultural practices? So, Dr. Sudhir, if you can enlighten us with your views.
Sure. And I think this will also help to address some of the questions which are coming, which are indeed very interesting. So when we talk about how technology can be used to improvise agriculture practices, I think we need to think about what we mean by technologies. People see technology from different perspectives. Technology can be per se kind of practice, the tools or the recommendation to be kind of enabling tools to ease the decision making, and technology can be also in terms of catalyzing the adoption of improved practices. So it depends on how we define the technology, and I'll briefly talk about all three. So when we say about technology, so people generally say technology as something new, a new product. Questions are coming like drip irrigations and Louke mentioned about laser leveling. So it depends on what is our purpose. If our purpose is kind of applying the less irrigation water, then we can go with the technology like laser leveling. So laser leveling will basically it will help that the amount of water which you applied, whether you apply like 5 centimeter standing water, 10 centimeter, whatever you apply, to reach to that amount level, the water quantity required will be less. And I think at least in India, there has been sufficient adoption of laser leveling a lot in Punjab, Haryana, but now it's speaking in eastern Uttar Pradesh and Bihar a lot. And there is a clear visible benefit of laser leveling in terms of reducing the water and increasing the yield. But then also, if there are other technology, like if you want to reduce or you want to increase the interval between two irrigations, so how frequently you are applying irrigation, and then the technology like alternate wetting and drying, which is again quite famous now in South Asia, that you, instead of continuous flooding, you can dry your field to certain level, and there's a simple tool to do that. But then we also talk about technology where you can reduce the amount of water, but you can't reduce the frequency. So it's a frequent application of water. That is drip. So in drip, we have a technology where the amount of water can be significantly reduced, but you need to apply it like more or less daily because it meets the evapotranspiration demand. So the point here is it depends on what are the challenges in the region. Similarly, when it's come to water, it's not only water per se, it's also energy. In Punjab and Haryana, it's most of the pumps are on electricity. As we go down in the eastern side, there is a lot of diesel operated pump, and then it comes to like how we can reduce the energy footprints also. And there are different solutions, especially in the coastal regions. There has been a lot of adoption of axial flow pump compared to centrifugal pump, where your energy footprints can be significantly reduced. Or there has been a lot of projects now started by government of India on solar power. So it's kind of green energy, using the green energy. This is kind of one lens, using irrigation or energy. The other lens is in terms of improving the adaptation, capacity of the farmer. And in that one, some of the farmers ask about water harvesting. So basically, if you can harvest the water, that improve your capacity to adapt. Like if you are going through drought, so you can apply supplementary irrigations. And there is a lot of work done on crop establishment method like dry seeded rice. But if you can allow me to share the screen, Krishna. Shrestha, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Can you see my screen? I think you are mute. So I'm assuming that you are able to see.
Yes, I'm able to see. I'm sorry, we can't see your screen. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see now?
Not really. We can't see your screen.
You need to click.
Okay.
You need to click twice on like if you share, and then you need to do one more permission
All right,
step.
let me try.
I think
So maybe you need to
click twice, and then you
in the
can.
bottom.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, now we can.
Okay, you can see. So basically, what it went to different screens. So not sure which screen you are looking at.
Really?
All right, let's.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep it simple. So what I mean here, that we generally, as a researcher, we generally offer a lot of technology to farmers, and sometimes made them confused. Sometimes we are very much technology driven, and in real sense, I think what farmer need help on is making a decision, that what are the best way to make the decision, what technology can be picked. And technology is not only about like following laser leveling or not. The decision is whether laser leveling is required or not.
Yeah.
Or after how many years laser leveling is required, whether for your system drip is a good option, or maybe you are getting enough rain, you target the system gain. So there is a lot of work which is required in terms of helping farmer in decision making. And Louke was talking about enabling environment, and this is similar to that one, that where you invest on building the capacity of the system. That is also with policy lens. But then now there are a lot of ICT, IoT based tools which are very powerful in terms of picking the right technology which are suitable for a particular region. Farmers in Haryana, their questions are different than farmers in Uttar Pradesh and farmers in Bihar. So we cannot fit one size to all, and it's very important that we use now the tools in terms of leaving it with farmers rather than telling that this is best for you, leaving with them to pick what is best for them, because they are the kind of best people to understand their agro environment, understand their challenge. And I think what we can do is helping them in terms of exploring the cafeteria of technologies and telling them the pros and cons of different technologies. And then these tools can also help to catalyze the change which are required. I can see that there's one more slide which is basically saying that we have technologies, and we know the stakeholder need, but technology generally doesn't reach to the stakeholders, and that's the gap which we need to fill. That what kind of now tools we can develop so that we can reach as much as near to farmers. I'll stop here for now.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sudhir. You're absolutely correct in how we have been, we do need to enable the farmers to make an informed choice. And this enabling factor could have multiple avenues. One could be to give them the appropriate information of what are the kind of facilities available, the kind of videos, or just share the screen, or even at the part of the government of what, in terms of what kind of initiatives and the schemes are available, for example, subsidies. We have been involved in this part of enabling farmers by training them in various kinds of water efficient farming techniques, and one of which was water stewardship, which was being done under our water productivity project. So Jyotsna from our Uttarakhand office is connected to us, and we have 3 and 4 Jal Sakhis who were the community persons working directly with the farmers on how they developed and also made sure that the farmers know what they're doing, and also explaining them that how they can implement these from last many years. So maybe we could hear her views and also hear directly from some of our Jal Sakhis, if you would allow me. Jyotsna, can you hear us?
Yes, Shweta, I can hear.
Yes, Jyotsna, we would like to hear. And then just before heading into that, we're really glad that we have our partners from Pakistan joining us for the webinar, who are implementing the water productivity project in Pakistan, which we have been doing in India. So we would like to hear their views as well sometime. And yeah, Jyotsna?
Yes.
Yeah, Jyotsna, if you would, can tell us about the experience of working within the community, enabling the farmers, and how Jal Sakhis worked directly on ground.
Yes, Jal Sakhis have been working in the water productivity project, and they have been monitoring the water use in these technologies. Actually, all these technologies have been demonstrated in the field areas, SRI, AWD, and intercropping. So, Jal Sakhi's role was to monitor the level of water and irrigation during the past 3 years. And as the results we had analyzed, it has been noticed that 25% of water saving has been 23 to 25% water saving has been experienced through these practices. So, Jal Sakhis, other than this water monitoring part, they have created water and environment groups in region of Nainital district where our project is going on. So the water and environment main purpose is to monitor and maintain the water infrastructures and aware community members towards water use, sustainable water use.
Yeah, in fact, for everyone, we have been successfully able to mobilize and train 4,500 farmers in a project. And how this word of mouth works among the farmers community is that when one village or say a particular block is being trained or being told about what is happening, it slowly spreads among the other farmers. And again, what Louke was talking about, that if we present them with a lucrative business model, which is that if they're producing water efficient or maybe SRP standards rice, that can be easily exported and given at a good price. If I'm correct, Louke.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, since we're done with the what the speakers have to say, but we're still one question left. I would request our VAPRO partners from Pakistan if they would want to.
And there's online questions as well, like what are the
Yeah.
low-cost technology that can be adopted by farmers without even increasing costs?
Yeah. If you would like to go ahead into answers, because So here, and then we can head into questions. So Ali has joined us from Pakistan. Ali, can you hear us? He is among the Wipro partners. I think there's some technical error and I couldn't reach him. Anyway, let's go ahead and take answers questions one by one. So, can drip irrigation system be used in paddy cultivation? And that's something a reoccurring question, and I think Dr. Sudhir, you would like to give your opinion.
Yes, definitely there has been a lot of work done of using drip, in rice. I'm familiar, the work was done in Haryana, also in Karnal, work was done in Modipuram, also work was done. However, there is another question that can we kind of save water without additional investment, So that's kind of the scenario that when it comes to the paddy cultivation, there's the initial investment with the drip, and the technology is still kind of settling. I'm speaking on my perspective that from it's definitely there's research done, but for adoption of farmer, it's still a bit expensive. So that now the many private companies are working on low cost drip irrigation system, but the adoption for drip is still very low in rice because they don't see kind of the output against the investment, so the marginal cost is very high. While in a lot of rain-fed area in Uttar Pradesh, we have farmers from there. They have started to use this low-cost drip irrigation in the dry season for growing vegetables, and there is it's very high profitable system. So it all depends on, as a technology, it's excellent. But when farmers pick a technology, it's not only from technology perspective. They look it from different lens. So, and that this depends on the whole system, that what kind of system you have, and then whether drip is a potential choice for you or not.
Yeah. Of course, in fact, we have been the project which we'll be working in Haryana. There have been discussions whether we could implement drip irrigation in paddy cultivation and see if it can work there. But we're also considering the factor that it has been done before, but in different kinds of atmosphere and also the soil. And I'm skeptical about if the kind of soil will make any difference, because hilly areas will be different in comparison to maybe areas like Haryana.
So no, it depends on. There are two different things. One is when you schedule irrigation and how you schedule irrigation. Whether you use drip or you use flood, that is how. When is interval, and when will take care of soil type. So when in drip irrigation, you consider the evapotranspiration. So evaporation is from the soil, transpiration is from the plants. So you consider that one and you schedule the irrigation. But my simple kind of question or suggestion to farmers, and I'm thinking more like a farmers, being grown up in Haryana, like if farmers are, at least some progressive farmers are started to think for drip. So which means they are already thinking to dry their paddy field. If they can dry their paddy field with surface irrigation, they can save a lot. I'm not saying that drip is good. It can further increase the saving, but in terms of what low-hanging opportunity which we have with us is saving this water which we are pumping from the groundwater, and that is really kind of alarming the situation in Punjab and Haryana.
True.
So first, I think the big message is that if they believe drip is good, that means rice can be grown as like other cereals like wheat. So they can change it in their surface irrigation system also, and then it's a step change. Then they can adopt probably drip at later stage.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Sudhir. Of course, what you said definitely can be done. So this question, which is a bit convoluted, but just giving the gist, is really that what are the policy level initiatives that can guide water stewardship at a multi-level so it can be implemented. So really what the question is trying to understand is what kind of policy change is required when water stewardship can be implemented very well in all, like in regional setting, in a state level setting, or say a national and even international setting. If Louke would like to comment, and maybe later Dr. Sudhir would give his own opinion on it.
Yeah, I'm not, let's say, the expert, of course, in the policy part, because
Yeah.
this is, I think maybe Sharma, you even might be yourself able to answer. Of course, like having improved policies, having incentives for rice growers is essential. So I spoke earlier about the enabling environment. What we see, for instance, in other regions where the government might have incentives for collecting rainwater, for providing subsidies for using drip irrigation. That's one role. Then, of course, also policies in place where maybe there might be a restriction of farmers using water. In Pakistan, there are debates whether actually water should be paid by farmers. So it just depends on the context, of course.
Yeah. But since you are someone who can speak for the market, I would like to know your views in what capacity the markets can influence the policy. What are the kind of changes which can be done from your end? For example, the points raised before was how they can increase price when we are working with SRP. So something.
Yeah, so if we talk about premiums, as Mars, we need high quality basmati. So we always pay for a quality premium. If farmers, so that already helps farmers to increase their income. Then we, of course, we work with our suppliers who have agronomists who provide coaching to farmers. So every 2 weeks, they will receive guidance how to better grow the rice, which also increased yields by 15%. Of course, we also work on improving, let's say, better market, so market route to market, transport, lowering transport costs. And then, of course, if they grow SRP rice, we won't expect we pay a premium like what they do in organics, but we would rather see by all the interventions that farmers can benefit by growing rice in a more sustainable way.
Yeah.
And if I can add to Lauke's point in terms of incentivize farmers for kind of climate smart practices, one of the debate which is going on is on providing incentives to farmers for carbon credit, which has been already started in Western world, but in Asia it is not introduced. And there has been, and this is at macro level, at country level, and country hold different kind of funds. One is which they can access is green climate funds, which can percolate down to provide additional incentive for reducing the water footprint and the carbon footprint. So as you know that rice is one of the major source of methane emission. So it can be sometime direct, sometime indirect. So if they use the water efficiently, they not only save water, but they also reduce the global warming potential. So people of Haryana know that what is happening in Delhi in winter, so there is a lot of work need to be done in terms of how we improve the ag practices, but more importantly, what is the pull mechanisms. And that I think we need to think out of the box to incentivize farmers through premium rice, sporting price, or through these new incentive mechanism of carbon footprints.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Sudhir, for adding your reviews. And of course, methane emissions are also very important side effects of growing rice. And if we are contributing towards not generating that kind of an emission into the atmosphere, considering Delhi's and India's pollution level, there will be a good advantage. And in terms of the ecological contribution from the farmer's end, But there's this concern which always comes to me, and speaking from putting my feet in a farmer's shoe, is that why is that everything burdened over me? Why do I have to need to make all the difficult choices? Because essentially what matters to me is growing and just getting the better price. So if you would like to comment on that, or maybe Louke, if you will feel.
I would not say it's always about the price. It's more what we say, the more crop per acre, so productivity. That's actually a key one. Also, what we see a lot in the system, that a lot of rice growers are dependent on the middlemen to have loans. They need to pre-finance their input costs, and that actually is a huge burden on the final net income from rice. So we now might be working more on pre-finance, which can reduce 20% of their input costs, which are spent by paying 14 to 24% of taxes. So rather just having the premium discussions, I would rather go in this route, thinking about pre-financing, dependency on middlemen, and whether we can also play a role in this. And I'm keen to hear, because I know it's very challenging, as a lot of rice growers also need the middlemen, as they provide a bank not only for agriculture but also for education and other let's say loans as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Louke. Adding to that, I think one of the participants with us is Dr. Sudhir Singh, who's director at ICID, International Organization for Irrigation and Drainage. Maybe he would be an expert person to add comments on how changes can be done at a policy level. Dr. Sahdev, if you would like to add to our discussion. If you would unmute yourself, we can't hear you, Dr. Sahdev. Yes. Dr. Sahdev, we can't hear you.
Okay. Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to spoil the party, but this morning I was reading the newspaper, and interestingly, there is a study by IFPRI, International Food Policy Research Institute, which says that the crop burning in Haryana, Punjab alone costs $30 billion per year to the Indian economy. And I don't know, I think that's a number which is very close to the total agricultural exports of India. Basically, the Punjab-Haryana region is not the agroecological zone for rice farming. And it was introduced because of the Bhakra Nangal dam, which provided sufficient water. So people switched to the cash crops like the basmati rice, and which is an export commodity. So maybe I have been studying this problem for the last 2-3 years. And it seems that Punjab and Haryana receives only 40% of the monsoon rain that the West Bengal and the northeastern part of India, which are more suitable for rice farming, receive. And I don't see any research which gives a direction that how we can grow fragrant rice like basmati in the northeast parts of India, which receives adequate monsoon rainfall. And in the Punjab-Haryana region, I'm not against technology. I'm an engineer myself. And drip and all these things can always make the water use efficiency much higher. But should we not be practicing something which is agroecologically or ecologically sustainable in the long run? That's my question to the experts here. Of course, there is a need for improving the economy of farmers, improving their income. But are there other ways which we should think about, or there are other options, policy options, which can incentivize the shift in farming practices, making it more ecologically sustainable in the long run?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Sahdev, for sharing your views. I know we are short on time, but we have two questions which are still left unanswered. If you could keep it on the table now. The first one is, how can wise water stewardship affect the quality and quantity of the agricultural produce? So essentially, what is the benefit of water stewardship? So if you would like to hear on it, if Dr. Sudhir would say some.
So basically, when we are saying about, whenever we talk about water saving, people sometimes take it as like we are cutting off significantly. There is a difference between water requirement of crop versus water applied to the crop, and there basically it's all about the intelligence about like how much water need to be applied. I want to quickly also make the point about what Sudhir was saying, that I also believe in terms of the whole window of operation, thinking about how you can make a decision based on your agroecological condition and based on your water availability. So your some of the, like I know the work which Mars Food is doing, their best management practices that the climate smart practices which will not affect your quantity, that may improve your quality, but that will definitely not affect your quality. So it's win-win situation, which basically we are talking here, rather than reducing quantity and quality.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes also a lot of sense, because if we are conserving water and managing water, not only are we making an ecologically better choice, but we are also, in terms of the market, making a better opportunity, as raised by Louke, that how premium is also being paid by companies. And for that matter, I know that Mars has been paying premiums, LT Foods and other market leaders also paying premium for better maintained rice. Just this last question, which is being left unanswered, is what are the low-cost technologies that can be adopted by farmers without increasing cost? If
Again, I think it depends on. I always go back to that. What are the conditions, rather than saying that this technology can fit very well to you. We have seen a very high impact, and again, as Sudhir was talking about this IFPRI study and another IFPRI study in eastern Uttar Pradesh, where the early planting of wheat followed by early planting of rice followed by early planting of wheat was able to make significant change in water productivity, because they were using rain efficiently. So it's not always that you need to try a new rocket. It's sometimes it's the decisions which you make around the production system. There are series of technologies which can be adopted, but again I would come back to that. It all depends on what are the conditions, and accordingly we can suggest the appropriate technologies.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sudhir, for sharing your time and your views with us. I think we're just ending the webinar. It's already 3:32, and due to some internet problem, we also don't have Louke with us as of now. So first of all, I would like to thank everyone for sharing their views, and the participants from Haryana, Uttarakhand, Pakistan, and different parts of the country.